into the lesson and start talking.
And we're live.
All right, thank you everyone for attending our Finance Committee meeting today. We'll go with the roll.
Councilmember White.
Here.
Councilmember Bowman.
Present.
Councilmember Nowakowski.
Present.
Councilmember Rivera. Councilmember Wingo.
Present.
Council President Pridgen.
Here.
Quorum is present.
Okay, from the top.
Item number 1, interfund loan account balances.
Okay. This item is open.
Delano Dow, Comptroller's Office. I know we spoke on this item over the past 2 weeks. This was a request of the council to provide a list of open accounts for interfund loans for city projects. I don't know if you guys had any other questions.
Any question, council members? I got a couple. First, it says that we
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
we can't hear. Somebody's phone or somebody is not on mute, so we hear some background noise.
Everyone on mute?
Mr. Chairman, it sounds like it's coming from yours. If you have anything on in the background when you speak.
No. It's nice and quiet for once. Yeah, my question is this item, the items that we have here goes back as far as 2011. And it says the money shall be returned for interfund transfers within a year. What gives us the right to go beyond that? What is it that, is there some type of legislation or anything that gives us a right to go 9 years beyond what is agreed upon?
I mean, we prefer to have the funding back within a year so we can rotate that money for any potential new projects. Like the one you're speaking of now, the CHIPS Capital. I will have to reach out to our accounting department to see exactly what's the status of that loan, that $3 million loan amount. But I can get back to you on that.
Yeah, but isn't it state legislation that this is which is that encompasses our accounting and how we account for municipal financing that says this money should be back within a year, not just our discretion to do so?
Not to my knowledge. That was internal for something for the city of Buffalo to pay it back within a year.
Okay, where's our accounting person for the controller's office?
Bill's
CPA.
He's not in.
Okay, I need an answer to that because I don't think it's our decision. I think it's from Mr. DiNapoli's letter. It talks about that accountability that is supposed to be back within a year. I don't think it's just our discretion. The next question is, when was the last time we received a payment? I know that
A payment for?
That we received any type of the money returned back to us. When was I think we got a number of, it says repayments. I don't know what that means, repayments.
That's a payment.
Okay, when was the last one that we received? Because we have an item from 2013 regarding cars on Main Street.
Based off the spreadsheet, the last payment we received was 5/22/2019. But once again, this is an interfund loan account where ideally we would want the funds paid back within the year, but it could be holdups. It can be a grant where the city won't be reimbursed until the project is fully complete, or it can be delay in invoices. It could be a delay in the project itself. It's a process in order to get the funds repaid. We keep track of what was loaned out. We keep track of what was paid and the actual balance that's still owed. This is the monthly report our accounting group review. And we look at it and we reach out to, like, the bulk of the loans, interfund loans is for projects, DPW projects, which do take a period of time to do.
Okay, if you can give me the update on that, if it states that if it's state legislation that directs us in this refunding process, I would appreciate that.
Will do.
Okay, thank you. Motion to table. Unless there are other questions. Any other questions, council members? Okay, motion to table.
Donna wanted to say something. Council member, just so you know, I reached out to Public Works on the interfund loans. And as Mr. Dowell said, that a lot of those are reimbursed only after the project is completed. But they do go through on either a monthly or quarterly basis and put together what the reimbursement is going to be through Public Works. So they are, some of them are annual and some of them they're still working on. So they have not reimbursed, but they do look at it and put together that reimbursement schedule on a monthly basis.
Well, I guess the one that concerns me the most is the CHIPS one from 2011. That's $3 million. And it seems to me, unfortunately, the further we get away from an item, does it mean that we're not going to get that money? I mean, from 9 years ago, is that reasonable? That from a project from 9 years ago that we wouldn't have completed it?
I think that's a revolving fund that CHIPS use. We get an annual allocation on that. So I would have to clarify through accounting and through Public Works on that. But that's an annual allocation we get as CHIPS.
Okay, so then they need to change that date then, because that's probably not an accurate date if it's an annual thing. And I can understand that, but because right now it just has me concerned that it's from 2011. And if it's an annual thing, they probably should have one for 2018 or 2019.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
But then also, as far as effective date, that's probably when we initially started this revolving. So in the system, when you run Munish, it was going to be the effective date when we first started.
Okay, thank you. Next slide.
Item number 2, City of Buffalo COVID-19 expense report.
Okay, this item is open. Well, I know Ms. Estridge created this for us. Thank you for this document. Any questions, council members? Okay, Councilmember Bowman.
Thank you. Don, Commissioner, I was just wondering on the first round of expenses that you compiled for reimbursement, do we have any idea when that could be repaid, or is that, do you have any idea like when we could see a reimbursement for that potentially?
It will be in this our fiscal year we're in now. I don't know when it will be. It has gone to the federal government. They've reviewed it. So it's in the process right now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner, okay, so I know that these are the reimbursable expenses. What other expenses are there out there, and can you get us a document that we need to be concerned about? I know that the administration has talked quite frequently about the impact, and this is the reimbursable portion of it. I do know or understand that we're probably affected by the cutbacks from the state to 20%, of course, and it's possibly we may not get that. Are there any other expenditures that we should be aware of? You're on mute. You're on mute.
We did reduce our budget this year by the 20%. So we anticipated, there may be some reduction in our state aid. So that one is part of our budget right now. I think the concerns for going forward in this year is more going to be is the parking revenue, because we have the on-street and we have the ramp parking. We've been looking I looked pretty much where we were year to date last year versus this year. And last year we had a capital asset sale of $2 million. So if I pull that out of there, we are almost at the same dollar amount where we were last year at this time, same time. And I compared our sales tax. I think I spoke to you earlier about this. Our sales tax numbers have not been reduced as much as we were anticipating. We came in, we're finalizing last year. Accounting is still finalizing. But we were only about under 2 million off from what we had put in the budget for last year. In this year, we're a little bit reduced, but we had anticipated it would be 30 to 40% reduced, and it's not coming in like that at all.
So is there any way we can get a reimbursement for that? But you're saying what we budgeted for last year, we're right in concert with that, but we have not received the amount that we have budgeted for this year for parking, correct?
For parking right now is reduced because we're just starting to ramp up. We just started again with on street parking, the parking ramps. A lot of people are working from home. A lot of people are not parking, so that is going to be reduced a little bit.
Is that a reimbursable expense?
Revenues so far are not reimbursable.
Okay.
That's, the assistance from the federal government that we're hoping for.
Okay. Any questions, colleagues? Okay, motion, Council President Pridgen.
And thanks for Commissioner for the report. As we continue to go down this road, will we be able to show where we have taken money out of other budget lines for the COVID response? I know that the response from the administration has been that we've had to move money out of other lines in order to respond to the budget crisis, to the COVID crisis. So what's reflective now deals more with reimbursements, but I know that there's been money moved from other accounts. Will that ever show? Not will it ever show. When can we see that, I should say?
Well, for the current year, we did put, we upped the funding for cleaning and PPE. So they have over $1 million for that right now. So I don't think this year there's going to be a need to transfer money from different departments or use different departments' funding.
But in the past we have, or in this last 6 months we have.
Yes.
So
yeah.
That's kind of what I'm looking for, and I'll just go straight to it. When we talk about the movement of the monies for from furniture or tasers and that kind of stuff, it went for PPE, but we probably just need to break that out so we're able to show that.
Where the money was moved from to buy, sure. Yeah,
I
police
think
paid for masks. We had inventory at stores. We moved money from gasoline to pay for a lot of.
And that takes away all of any innuendo, or it's just there. It's plain. We see it and we move forward with what we're going to do. But I think that that's important for the transparency to be able to show that.
Commissioner, also, I got a question. I know we have a claims committee coming up. Where are we coming up with the money for that? If we are at this point where we don't have the funds?
Well, we have in the budget, we have $2 million for claims as part of the budget line.
Okay, but didn't we, okay, this is a new budget year.
Correct.
New budget year, okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, colleagues? Okay, motion to table. Thank you.
Motion to table.
Item number 3, passport parking contract amendment.
Items open.
This item is open and we have Commissioner Helfer here to discuss it. Commissioner?
Good morning, Councilman.
Good morning.
Before you is a contract amendment to our passport parking contract. We obviously call Buffalo Roam. Currently, right now, anybody who wants to make a transaction and pay for their on-street parking only has the option of downloading the Buffalo Roam. This industry is starting to become what we call app agnostic, and this will allow for other third-party people, such as Google Maps or the auto industry, Ford or Chevy. Somebody could come in and instead of having to download our Buffalo Roam app, could already have money in another app, such as Google Maps or what have you. So this will just give our parkers one more way and a lot easier to pay for their parking. And our app utilization, especially with COVID now and people not wanting to touch money and what have you, our utilization keeps trending the way we want it, higher every month. So I think this is something very good, and I'm looking for your honorable body's approval.
Colleagues, any questions? Commissioner, is there any cost associated with this at all?
No, what our existing cost is with Buffalo Roam. With Buffalo Roam, we pay, the user pays 10 cents on every transaction. So a transaction is not just, I'm sorry, the user will pay the total cost to us. It'll be a 35-cent transaction charge, but the user will know that. So they can either use Roam for the 10 cents or use this for the 35-cent charge.
Okay. Any questions, colleagues? Okay, motion to approve.
Motion.
Thank you, Commissioner. Seconded by Councilmember Bowman.
Mr. Chair,
Councilmember Wingo.
I think that we are having a hard time hearing the other speakers because I don't know if one of your grandchildren is in class right now in the background. We can hear their teacher or something. We don't know what it is, but I hear someone teaching and doing some kind of instruction right now.
I keep on muting because I don't have anywhere else to go. So I keep muting, but I'll do better. Okay. Thank you, Councilmember.
Well, we appreciate it, but hey, we got to do what we got to do. This is the time we live in. All right. We appreciate it.
Next item.
Item number 4, new legislation providing financial and budget flex to local government and school districts.
Items open.
Okay, this item was open and I was actually looking for the controller's office to chime in on this, how this affects us. If we can have someone speak to this item, if it affects us at all. You're on mute.
I wasn't aware you guys want us to speak on that, so if I could just relate to the next, either actually on Monday during the caucus, I can follow up on that.
Okay, thank you. Motion table. Next.
Item number 5, BFSA letter 2020 July, 21st of July, 2020.
Items open.
Okay, this item is open, and I just wanted to provide this to the council because we weren't informed of what was going on as far as a request for additional funding, but we did get this information after the fact. And some of the things that Mr. Olson put in the letter speaks to our current financial crisis regarding revenues and things like that. So I just wanted us to be aware. Do we have any updates, Commissioner, on where we are with our finances? I mean, our plan, I know we were supposed to have a weekly meeting or monthly meeting. I don't know if we've had any meetings with the leadership on where we are financially.
Sorry, I thought we met last month. We can meet again anytime you'd like. I kind of went the overview where we are right now. Revenues really are very close to where we were last year. Year to date, our expenditures are down from last year. So we've been working, my budget team has been working with each of our commissioners, and we are working on going through their budgets. We're working on hiring freezes within the departments. The commissioners have identified projects that perhaps can be delayed until later, or maybe we don't do this year. So we've been working very closely with the departments on that. We'd be glad to reach out to you, and if council and city clerk has anything they would like to adjust in their budget, we'd be glad to work with you also on that.
Okay, we absolutely would love to do that. How is our capital budget affected through this process? I know that we talked about the amount that we had approved and we didn't use the entire amount, so we're using a portion of that money for next year. Is that, I mean, the capital budget is through the bonds, correct?
Yes, it is. So we're putting together the budget right now, you know, the process, it'll be coming to you in a month or so. We are going to look at priorities come January, February. We'll be looking at where we stand with our federal stimulus, where we stand with our deficit bonding, if that has to go through, and then make a decision at that point how much we would actually sell.
I think that some of the council members met with Brendan a couple of days ago, and one of the things that was brought up is about the capital bonding in our projects, because sometimes it seems like our requests aren't prioritized. And I think that, you know, for us to not have our items prioritized is a little bit of a concern. We're not getting very much, but we would think that those projects would at least be prioritized because those are from what we know in our individual districts, and nobody knows our districts better than us. So can we make certain that that's something that is addressed when we look at the capital budget? Because I know that they have the committee that does their due diligence. However, a council member knows their district better than anybody else.
Well, and you've spoken with Brendan on this and identified your priorities?
We've had some conversation with him, but we want to make certain, because I think it's the CPC that's actually presenting.
Correct.
And
We'll
so,
present to the mayor and then the
Right.
mayor will submit to the council.
right,
Yeah, I would just make sure Brendan is aware of what your priorities are. I mean, a lot of your priorities fit into infrastructure and some of the projects that we're already doing, so.
colleagues, any questions, comments? Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you very much. I was in on that Zoom meeting with Brendan, and we talked about CPC and what their priorities, and their priorities tend to be the administration's priority and DPW, not necessarily the council members' priorities. I, for going on 12 years, have gone before the CPC, and we spent 15 minutes narrowing down what our priorities are, and at the end of the day, it normally goes the other way. It goes based on DPW's priorities and the administration's priorities. So that is something that we're concerned about. Brendan has agreed to meet with each council member to talk about their priorities. Unfortunately, Mike Finn wasn't at the meeting, and I think he was critical to this as well. He's one of the people that has influence in terms of what priorities are. So I'd like to see them defer more to the district council members who know their districts better than perhaps anybody else. But that has been a problem for a while now with regards to CPC and the way they come up with their visions. I just think it's a formality that we go through every year that the priorities have never seemed to reflect their final decisions, our priorities at least. Thank you.
Councilmember Noakowski.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I had a Commissioner, I had a great conversation with Brendan last week. When can the council expect the mayor to submit the recommendations to the council?
Ooh, this is a test. I think
November
it is, yeah, the end of November, early December.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't
thank
have those dates right in front of me.
you. Thanks.
Any other council members? Okay, motion to table,
Table.
seconded by Councilmember Noakowski.
Item number 6, 2020 to 2021 Bureau subrecipient agreements.
Items open.
This item is open, and Commissioner Eschrich, you helped with getting us this information from Bureau, which we had the conversation with Brendan about this. Some of the numbers that you gave us are numbers we already had from the report that you gave us, covering 2016, 2017, 2018, but nothing for 2019. And I know you said that that year is not completed as of yet, but I think before my comments were, we have no numbers at all, nothing that they could have given us in advance, because we're almost close to the end of the year for that period anyway.
Right, they closed September 30th.
September 30th. So, and they didn't have anything for us at all?
The only one right now that would be by Councilmanic District would be probably the housing would be the only one would be able to come up with those numbers quickly. Because I think we expressed in our meeting on Friday is they don't track things by Councilmanic District. It's all by census tracts throughout the city. So it's going backwards and trying to fit things into Councilmanic districts. Going forward, we are working on, so everything going forward would also reflect the council district so we can report more easily. But it is a process to go backwards and look that way. Because even through zip codes, it goes through different districts. So we can't just say because it's this zip code, it belongs to this council member.
Okay, any questions, colleagues? No, okay. We're gonna approve this, and I hope next year we have a better process to have the information, because that's important to us. And I think that we wanna make certain that we're getting our fair share for our districts and delivering for our residents. So the motion to approve. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
Motion to approve. Seconded by Councilmember Scanlon.
Item number 7, immediate purchase of non-lethal detaining mechanisms for Buffalo Police Department.
Items open.
This item is open, and I believe.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Councilmember Scanlon?
Yeah, just the previous item. I'm not actually on the committee, so you might need to get a different second.
Motion.
I'll do the second.
Councilman President, thank you. Okay. Councilmember Pridgen?
Thank you, sir. This item is concerning the tasers and the taser allotment the approval of the budget for 2019 to 2020 that was approved for not just tasers, but for furniture. I do expect to have, and I have been in conversations with the administration. So Commissioner, I'm not putting you on the spot today because I have been on the phone almost daily to talk about the tasers, not only, and that's what I asked Commissioner for, what the money was spent on. From what I'm hearing, it was when COVID hit, some adjustments that had to be made. At the end of the day, I still stand on the fact that we need the tasers, or we need some type of apparatus where a police officer does not have to go from a verbal command to physical to a gun. Yesterday, we did see myself and Councilmember Scanlon and I invited all other council members who would like to attend when I got the notification, a demonstration of something that I've been watching and looking at probably for the last 7 months, to be able to immobilize a person without the use of a gun. I think that this is so important. Obviously, our antennas went up once we had the incident with Mr. Henley. We then learned that the tasers are not out in mass with our police department. That is important. And so I don't want to receive and file this, because at the end of the day, I think that the tasers are so important. If it's not tasers, whatever it is, we need to have a different way of being able, a different level for our police department to be able, when they have to immobilize a person, and be able to do it without the use of a gun. So by next Tuesday, by our council meeting, I do expect and have been informed that we will have an explanation of this and where those dollars, if they were even there, because if they were not there because of we weren't collecting taxes, we didn't have the revenue, I'm fine with that explanation, but we just need to make sure we have the explanation so that we are able to be very transparent, but move forward in the purchase of those items wherever we have to get the money from, or however the deal has to be structured to give our police department that next level of intervention. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions, colleagues? Any comments?
Yeah,
What's that? Any comments, anyone? Commissioner, I just wanted to ask, I mean, we got our initial amounts of tax revenue back in June. We couldn't find 400,000 from that initial amount, which it seemed like a windfall to pay for the tasers then?
I'm sorry, say that about your taxes? The June, we get payments in July and this January.
Okay, we got our payments in July, and we couldn't find 400,000 in July for the tasers since we adjusted the budget for that because of COVID.
Well, July was our new budget,
Right, yeah.
and they had been removed out of the new budget?
Oh, we moved, okay. But we still had a next.
Money that Council President Pridgen is talking about is from the prior year?
Okay. So I know, Council President, I saw the demonstration from the news, and and I just didn't know how this worked. I know that they said 200 police departments across the country have used this, but that's a small number. And the person that they were aiming the bone at, whatever you call it, was standing still. How does that work in the real world? If someone is running, this individual is running.
And I'm not a police professional on this. I have been looking at it, and you can go on YouTube and even see the demonstration. They didn't do it running, obviously, in police headquarters for liability reasons, but you can go online and look at a live demonstration of someone running. And again, I'm not the one to really speak on it, but I'll tell you from what I have seen. Once that wraps around the leg, you can't really move your legs. So you end up either falling or stopping. And what we were told yesterday in this device is that it is more of a distraction because you hear it deploying, and then you automatically kind of look down, which then gives a team the ability to be able to take someone into custody again. And I'm going to say this again, without shooting a bullet. And so this is something that came up on the radar screen about even before we really started hearing from people. This came up on the radar screen through some of our government magazines and different things that I've been thumbing through. So it's another level. It's probably not the perfect level. I don't know if there is a perfect level of restraint. So at the end of the day, what my biggest concern is giving our officers on the street another level without going to that gun or to a weapon. This isn't considered a weapon. From the presentation, it's not considered a weapon. Somebody did refer to it as a weapon. But at the end of the day, it has a little fish hook that embeds in the clothes. The more you pull away, the more, it tightens up because it's a hook in the clothes. And maybe the President Pro Temp has more on it. But that's basically what we were shown yesterday. And regardless of whether it is that or the tasers, I'll make the point again. For me, whatever is going to happen needs to happen as quickly as possible. I don't want to see another event happen or the public to think that, we're stuck with the paralysis of analysis, and then we get nothing done and put the officers in a position where they still have the same tools. I'd like to see the tasers that we have to be out on the streets, or to be at least whoever is the lead supervisor on the street that responds, that they have what we already have. If we still have those, from what I read this morning, we still have them. And whether it's a few, they should be on the streets.
Councilmember Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Council President pretty much touched on everything I wanted to address. But the other thing that the people demonstrating the device yesterday stressed was that this was a short-term restraint. So, you deploy it, wraps them up, and more than anything, it just gives them then the opportunity to move in and make an arrest. It's not meant for long-term detainment or restraint. So that's one thing they stressed, was that it was short-term.
Thank you. Any other comments, colleagues? The one thing that concerns me is that if we go with this particular device, they have to test it, correct?
Yeah, they have, there would be, I guess, a, training. From what I hear, from what we were told, I think the training is 4 to 5 hours. So if they went with a pilot program, at the end of the day, the pilot program has been completed for the tasers. They're more expensive, I guess, in the maintenance. This is a one-time deal of purchasing the item. There is no continuing and just purchasing the cartridges. But we have one that has already been tested, and that's why I continue to stand on the platform of tasers and then anything else that comes after it, because we do have already the the testing has already happened with the tasers. So I'd like to see those deployed immediately as the resolution calls for. And then anything else that can be given is fine. It is okay, but I don't want to get away from by looking at what we saw yesterday as if that's a substitute for what has already been tested.
Thank you, Mr. President. Any other comments? Okay, Councilmember Wingo.
Yeah, so I didn't get it. Well, I didn't know about the presentation. So I'm curious, is there going to be a report drafted for council members so that we are aware of what the options and alternatives might be, so that we don't have to have a situation be escalated into physical and excessive and then deadly force? So all of these questions are great questions, but who's going to supply the rest of us who were not invited and did not get any information on this presentation about what the options are?
I want to be clear. I sent out a text message to all council members yesterday, an hour before. If you didn't get it, you can contact me because it was the same thread that we've been using for the last week and a half. So I sent it out to everyone. At the end of the day, if there's a report, that report comes from the police department. And I would hope that and ask them to do that.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Councilmember?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm looking for the message now, so I appreciate it.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, I guess that's it. Majority Leader. You're on mute.
Do they rhyme? No, those do not rhyme.
Motion.
Oh, Council President.
No, he's still on mute. I think the majority leader is still on mute.
Okay. If there motion would table that item,
Motion to table.
then the motion is to adjourn if there's nothing further to discuss.
Motion to table seconded by Councilmember Bowman. Motion to adjourn seconded by Councilmember Noakowski. Thank you all.